AP World History, writing a document-based question thesis. Do you have a thesis? You have to have one. An AP reader can tell in a moment if your essay is going to be strong or weak based on your thesis. If your thesis is weak, your essay will be weak. Theses should be 2 or 3 sentences long. The thesis must include specific information that responds to the prompt question. A good thesis tells us what we are going to talk about. An example is, the flow of silver during the 16th to 18th century was affected by social and economic aspects of women, slavery, and trade. The thesis told us that the social and economic aspects are the broad concepts, and then the specific concepts you're going to go into are women, which would be social, slavery, which could be economic and social, and trade, which is economic. So that's what your whole essay will be about, those topics and the subtopics, women, slavery, and trade. So social, economic, the big topics, and then women, slavery, and trade. A good thesis has 2 parts. It specifically addresses the terms of the prompt question, so you're really addressing what the prompt is asking you, and then sets up the structure for the rest of your essay. If you don't have a thesis, you won't have an essay. So you have to write a thesis at the beginning of your essay. In English class, you'll learn that it's acceptable to have a thesis at the end of your essay, and the AP Board does accept this also. But that means that you waited until the very end of your essay to actually figure out what you're talking about. So good chances are the rest of your essay will be garbage. The 2010 DBQ essay prompt was, use the following documents, analyze similarities and differences in the mechanization of the cotton industry in Japan and India in the period from the 1880s to the 1930s. Identify an additional type of document and explain how it would help your analysis of the mechanization of the cotton industry. So you're basically analyzing similarities and differences in the mechanization of the cotton industry in Japan and India. So you're looking at how things are similar and how they're different in the creation of mechanized cotton industry. So you're looking at an economic aspect and an industrial aspect of Japan and India. So you're comparing and contrasting them. The mechanization of the cotton industry. So this is an example of a thesis for the 2010 DBQ. The mechanization of the cotton industry in Japan and India is similar in the way women are treated, the introduction of the industrial tools, the class social structures, and where they came from, i.e. rural. The mechanization of cotton industry in Japan and India is different in who worked, women versus men, and the size of the labor force. So they're similar in that women are treated roughly the same. They're similar in the introduction of industrial tools. They both start to use looms that are manufactured with that use steam power and stuff, and then they're similar in their class structure. So the social structure that is involved there, i.e., they come from rural peasants, move into the city. They're typically rural poor, and they moved into the city and they work in the industrial factories, both in India and Japan. They're different in that women worked more often in Japan and then in India, where they used men, and the size of the labor force. So like how many men or how many women were involved. The outline. So first you have your thesis, and your paper must have a thesis addressing the prompt. You need to put your thesis at the beginning of your paper and not at the end, because if you put it at the end, most likely your whole essay is garbage because you don't even know what you're talking about. Group 1 is really paragraph 1. In that group 1 topic sentence, you're going to address the group's title. So if you're talking about the global flow of silver and the social effects, you might be, that first group 1 might be the social effects of the global flow of silver and the documents that are associated with it. So it might be document 3, 4, 5. So then you're going to take those documents and you're going to talk about them individually and how they apply to the thesis. Then you're going to take the point of view of one of the documents and you're going to address it. So you're going to talk about its reliability, its perspective, its motive, its bias, any of that kind of stuff. That's your point of view. And then you're going to have your additional document. Your additional document is, remember, it has to not already be present. It must be possible. And of course, it must discuss the 3 W's, the who, the what, and the why. Who, in a broad perspective, wrote it. What type of document is it? Is it a letter, a diary, whatever? And then why? Why do you need it? What does it bring to the table that isn't already represented in that group? So group 2 is just paragraph 2. Repeat the process with a topic sentence, and then your supporting documents that support the thesis, and then your point of view on one of those documents, and then an additional document not represented within that group. And then you repeat in group 3. You have your topic sentence again, addressing the documents that you've grouped together. Maybe it's documents 7 and 8. Then you have your documents, you discuss each one and how it supports the thesis. Then your point of view, reliability, motive, bias again, perspective, and then your additional document addressing group 3 or paragraph 3 that isn't already present, that is that addresses the who, the what, and the why again. And then your conclusion, you have a conclusionary statement. This is usually where people just restate their thesis. That is the best option for you. And so if all you have to do is look at your original thesis and you know what your conclusion will be.